Okay. Let's. お願いします。
お願いします。
Good. So we just start. Okay, working front and back. Okay, turn side to side. Okay, done rotations. Nice, and to the wave. Nice. Okay, just a little bit for the shoulders, stretching for the front. And change. Okay, taking the wrist over the back. And change. Okay, just loosening the shoulders here. Okay, locking the fingers behind. Stretching up. Pull the shoulder blades together. And release it. And again. Taking the wrist, drawing it across the back. And change. Good. And just put the palms together, forearms together at elbows. Just pressing the shoulder blades, rolling them down, back. And then from here, keeping the shoulder blades down, just raising the hands up. And try not to shrug the shoulders in this case. Keep the shoulders pressing down. And only raise the hands as high as you can. Keep the shoulder blades pressing down. And release it. And go back into it. Yeah. Just working the whole joint. Here, out, and then here. Keeping the shoulder blades again all the way back. So try not to shrug the shoulders here. Keep them back. Down, extend up and out. And then release it. One more time. Okay, just rolling the wrists. Just pressing the palms together. And changing side, changing the hands on top. Okay, into a Nikyo with the wrist. Keep in contact as you change. Change into Kotogaishi. Change. Okay, thumb over the top. Here. And change. Okay, taking the wrist into Sankyo. And change. Taking the fingers, stretching all the way over. Yeah, change. Yeah, last one, wrapping around the whole joint. It's like a shihonage. The whole body go with it. And change. Feel the stretch from all the way into the toes as well, into the feet, as you go with it. Okay, good. And just loosening the wrists. Shake them out. And then just pressing, opening the palms out and the fingers. Really opening, spreading them out as much as you can. Okay, and then closing fist, get nice and slow, and just kind of roll it in, and raveling the hand up. Start to bring the hands a little bit closer to the body. Don't feel the impact when you find the fist, something settling down into the feet. So don't feel nice and solid. Don't. Down, 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 down. And then just take that, keep the fist in place, and just start to loosen the body up a little bit. So keep the fist nice and tight, cores nice and tight, but nice and flexible too. Check the flexibility. Just play a little bit here, rolling the body. A little bit like the 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒃, but with much more structure. So there's much more feeling of weight behind it. Just play a little bit with rolling the hands out, not really striking, just rolling the hands out, but keep the feeling of nice strong grip. You can do it this way, you can also do it like this, so like in a kind of 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒖𝒊𝒔 position, but either way the feelings of a kind of focus in the hands. So a focus in the hands without a kind of tension through the whole structure, but just a kind of open feeling here. I'm just playing with it, hands or with a fist or with one doing a fist and one doing an open hand. Just play a little bit with it. Keep this feeling of a kind of engaged structure, also quite relaxed into the ground. There. Just feel free to start to move the feet around a little bit more. You can think about attacks with the hand as well. We can think about coming into techniques. Just start to feel that you can move the body fluidly, but really engaged. And just play with one idea, which is I've been playing with a lot recently, is this idea of compressing into the body. So keeping the extension in the body, but actually bringing the arms quite close to the body. There's a lot of work we do with the weapons, especially when we're going to kumitachi work, where the arms are quite close to the body. You need a kind of full extension. And also when we go to movements like Taina-henka, where the structure of the arm is quite close to the body, but I need it to be full of extension. And also if you think about Murotodori, there's lots of places in kind of techniques we do, Shirowaza, when the structure is actually quite close to the body, but I need it to be full as well. So it's really this thing about not mistaking extension for stretching out or pushing out. So it's trying to get the idea of the extension from the sword work, which is something very full, and actually connecting to the center. So just the last one here, just imagine you've got the sword in the hands, an invisible sword, and just play a little bit with the arms in the structure. So I want to feel all the time the arms are working here, but there's a real kind of freedom in terms of the structure being able to move, but it's got to feel like it's connected to the center. Otherwise it's just the arms kind of being loose, or I just lose the extension as the body comes in, and then I've got no functionality in terms of doing things. So just play a little bit coming into yokomanuchi work. Keep the shoulders free. You want to put no real strength into it at all, so zero power, but still with a sense of engagement in the body. So a little bit with these rotating, splicing movements. Just let the body feel nice and heavy. Just play with it a little bit. That's it. You can also play like you've got a Joe as well. Also interesting to do. It'll just it will make everything wider, everything bigger, a bit more circular. Yeah. There we go, nice. Very nice. Nice. And every so often, in this case, you've got the sword work here. We'll come back to this at the end, but get the feeling that at certain points you can really go into the feeling of taijutsu. So you're going back into this kind of position, but try and root it in this kind of center line work. So this kind of work we do so much with the sword and connecting to the center. We do all these kind of Zengo Giri movements, all this kind of stuff, these kind of Shihonage movements. But just feel that at some point when you go into it, you can really start to open it out into kind of taijutsu stuff. So this. So just play a little bit with it, with expanding, open it out. We'll do this a little bit more structured at the end, but just feel that you can start to open it out. And just feel that although there's a shift in the way the hands are working, there's no real change in the body use. The body's going to be used really in very much the same way. So just play in and out, come in. Invisible sword, no sword. Visible sword, no sword. There we go, nice. That's it. There we go, nice. Yeah, good. Okay, great, take BOKKEN. Okay, Roland, you want us to look at the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 from here, right? Okay, good. Well, look, just look at this. It's also a really important point. I tend to skip over it because I'm a bit fast in something. So just get the feeling that you're here in the posture here. That now that the traditional way is like the heels touch gently and the toes are just pointed out a little bit here. So you're in a kind of straight position here. So you want to feel that the whole body's balanced. There's a great picture with Uedo Sensei walking towards the old dojo, the dojo in Iwama, with a big iron sword. And we have it in the dojo in Montreal, but he's totally balanced in terms of his structure. So you can see this kind of the square in terms of the ground is really in the body this way. He's not leaning over like this. So just check. The first thing is just feel that the whole body's structured down. So you want to feel like a kind of column as you go in. And just take your time. There's also practices in terms of Chinese martial arts, just standing. So if you do like Tai Chi practices or Bagua or these kind of arts, they spend a lot of time on standing postures. So just play a little bit here, just take your time here. Feel the sword's totally included in the structure. And it's not leaning it over. Just notice the weight in the feet. Notice the knees, whether my knees are locked. So the knees are long, but they're not kind of locked out. But just feel the weight's nice and even. Neck's nice and long at the back. So it's a kind of we would call these like proud postures. You're like really upstanding, long. And then as you come into the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, just take your time really rolling into it, sinking down into the left leg, and then just coming forward. Just feel the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 sitting into the whole structure again. So there's no real disturbance of the structure. And then just feel that you can just come back. Sword goes back, just back. And then in, there, and back. And it's really worthwhile sometimes doing these kind of very slow exercises just as a kind of check. Well, these very, very simple movements we tend to skip over. Actually have a lot of kind of points in terms of teaching. Just give it a try. Very slow. Okay. I know there's totally different ways to draw the sword. So if you're also from you've got a history more of a school that is going to draw the sword out like this way. That's totally possible with the sword. What we tend to do in this case is just one movement. So rather than drawing the sword out and then coming into command, think that this whole thing is one movement. So the sword to the side and then this. So that whole motion is like one thing. Now, if I do it like this, it's like a kokyu movement. So rather than a kind of that, it's much more a feeling of a kind of kokyu. So it's something happening in the hips again. So the hips, it's a kind of draw, expand. And then just feel at this point that the sword's really anchored in the center, but it's wedged out by the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈. So you've got that kind of quality. So it's here to the back. Feel that you draw towards the center, everything comes over, and then settle into it. So the sword's just nicely wedged out to the side. Feel that the whole posture is drunk, sinking into the ground. There you go. Nice. Yeah, there's some. I used to do Iaido a long time ago, a really short period. But there were some forms in Iaido where basically in Iaido you'll never switch off, because as soon as you switch off in the form, the other guy's got a. I mean, it's a solo practice, but the other guy's got a 3-foot razor blade as well. So if you slip up or my kind of focus goes away, or I put the sword away with a kind of feeling like this, you're already dead. So they were saying that as soon as the awareness is gone, you're dead. So there was some practice in that case where you've drawn out, cut, and then as I'm drawing the sword back in, there's another cut. So it's teaching me to be aware all the time that I can draw the sword out at any time. Now, if I'm doing this in a way like, let's say I get here, and then I'm kind of done, I just go back, something like that. It's like too much. It's too much stuff happening. So I need to be in a way like really aware that moment's very clean. And then as you go back, it's totally clean. So just notice the movement as you come back now. So it's not a movement kind of just back, it's really a coming back. There. So it's keeping everything kind of full, open. That's it. The best way to do this is actually with another person in front of you. So you kind of do it with someone, time it. And then there's also a bigger set in terms of the kind of reiki. There's a kind of big long chain set you can do with bowing and kneeling down, presenting the sword. We don't do it in this style, but it's a nice practice. Good. Great. Okay, and then we'll just come into the first Saburu. So just coming here, coming in, finding the kamae, nice wedge, and then just rolling back. Again, you've got this nice column state, so really take your time here to feel full, long, and then coming down into it. So if you want with this one, just come back into the kamae. So it just makes the movement a little bit cleaner. And I want to feel really at this point, everything's nice and long. If you think about the kind of square in terms of grounding, this is like a big column, and then take that all forward into the curve. And you can either come back to kamae or just go into it. Just take your time with it. And be really wedged. And then find it. Yeah. That's good. Right. Okay, so talk a lot about grounding and like sinking the sword cut into the ground, but also think that works the other way. So think of the ground also coming up to meet the sword. So when you do the cut, this feeling of actually the ground's going to meet the sword up here. So I want the feeling of like, boom, the sword comes, boom. Now you also want this feeling to also happen in the body. So there's a two-way connection. It's never just one way, like just down. But really get a sense that now as you cut, the ground's out and the ground's right underneath the sword. So the feeling then is when you go now straight into the next cut, you take all that with you up. That. So you kind of hit the ground and it hits back. That. And it's much more of a feeling thing. This is one of the things very hard to do on Zoom, but hopefully you can see there's a really feeling like the ground's right underneath the sword. And then I take it up and then I drop it back down. Take it up, drop it down. There. There. That's it. That's it. Great. Okay, we'll go to number 2. So basically all the same idea, it's just much more open, more exaggerated movement now. So just rolling back, finding the kamae here, and then sinking the hips through. So you've got big movement, and then in this case, really come back into the kamae first. So really working the ground, but feel also there's a kind of reciprocal relationship back up. So there's a feeling of springiness in the body, rooted in the ground, and also here, the ground meets you, boom. So the ground's going to receive you as you go forward. Back. Just make it nice and full. Great. Just try it. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But in the case of this, is really as an exercise. Really find the back as you go forward. So as you find this position, also really check this angle. So you've got really 45 degrees at the angle. I don't want to be in these kind of positions. Back with the sword kind of straight on. So it's really wedged into the central line of the body here. This hand's about a fist and a half away from the front of the head. Here, and then as you go to the cut, touch the back, and then come through. The touching of the back really helps to open the shoulder blades up. One of the problems with this is where it gets caught in the front, and then it pulls me forward. So just try a few times, get to here, and really touch the spine. Just as you go forward. So it's here, and it's just as you go. Now, touch the back, go. It's done as one movement. Find the top, touch the back, cut. Just helps balance everything out. You're really looking for that same state as you got here. Nice and big, long column. All the weights in the left foot, and then press it through that way. That's it. Yeah, just slow that moment down so you've got this real moment of like really dynamic tension through the body. So as you go, all the weight's going to enter that front foot, and then you're in this kind of position. So there's no weight at all on the front foot. So you're in here, and then what you do is carry everything through. And it's really working with like Shomanuchi, so let the hips go from here, this position, through, they pass through, yeah, and then press in both of the hips. So it's like a gathering moment. There's this, and then all the hips go, both the hips go this way, in. So just feel that there's a real clear Shomanuchi kind of passing through. Goes in, and then both the hips are kind of massive through the cut. You just want to feel really heavy as you go. That's it. Yeah. Boom. Good. There we go. Right. Okay, we're coming to number 5. So in this case, just on the spot, just working the Yokomanuchi. Just start nice and slow. Just get it as one movement. There. Okay, just try, without making it two movements, try and focus really on the hips and the legs as you do this movement. So the legs are actually doing much more work than the arms. So as you go in, this, this. Just kind of exaggerate it a little bit, but get the sense that as you go down into the movement, that is initiated from the hip, from the hip, from the hip. So it's got really this kind of really clear moment, drawing everything towards the ground. Again, it's about my relationship with the ground. All the power in the upper is going to come from the lower. There. I feel that the sword gets dragged down by the body. There. This is a nice way to do it because you're drawing back with the hips. There. There. That's it. Slightly exaggerate it again. Boom. That's it. That's it. Okay, and then just playing with the Siberian motion, do a few forward and a few back as well. So you've got this motion still straight down the line. You can go forward with it, or you can drop it back. Get the main thing to get is the timing in the feet and the hands together. Together. As you go back, together. Together. And give them movement to the hips. Just let the hips carry it through. Carry it back. Forward. So. Yes. Good. That's nice. Yeah, again, just take the priority back to the hips, to the whole body. So if the priority is always going to be your body over the sword. So if the sword starts to take priority, the move starts to become like this kind of thing. The weight's been thrown into the sword. This is where I talk about throwing the sword at someone. Like this, you're kind of pressing the sword out. And that's sacrificing my balance for the strike. So what you want to feel is that again, the whole weight of the body is going to go into the cut. So just if you feel free also to break it down, but just get the feeling that the body's the thing, body's the priority. Because what I'm trying to do is deliver the weight of my body through the sword. Now, if I don't have the weight of the body in the cut, it won't happen. So the priority needs to be that the body's really rolling into it. And then from that, I can put the focus into that. Or back the same, that. So the weight of the body really needs to be behind it. And if the body's plugged into the ground, it will give you more weight. Yeah. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. The first point's like a technical point, just getting the hands and the feet to move together, and then getting the whole body to go as one unit, and the weight to be really the priority, weight of the body. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Great. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Okay, we'll do the same with number 7. So do a few forwards and a few back as well. So what you do in this case is start from the left side. You cut 1, 2, and then from here cut back with a step, and then drop back with the cut this way, with the thrust this way, and then just come back into the kamae. So in this case, you've got to start in the left side. You can start right side, and you can just do a few cuts. So you can do like 1 cut, 2, and then here. But if you want to make it very simple, just start left side kamae. You do 1 cut forward, 1 thrust, and then reset back into the kamae. 1 cut back, 1 thrust back. Here you go. Just play with it a little bit. And nothing changes in the dynamics of forward or backwards. Everything's really the same. There you go. That's it, great. So, great. Yeah, and the same feeling with the ski. The first thing is getting the idea of the hands and the feet together. So getting the dum, this together, the dum. So that the hands and the feet get the feet get planted at the same time as you're doing the handwork. Go. So they need to come together. Go. And as you go back to the same, go. Now once that's in place, once I've kind of got that generally, what you need to think about is the whole body going into it. This. And that the priority being the body rather than the sword. So as soon as the sword takes priority, that's going to pull everything out. So just focus. The first thing is just hands and feet. Dum. And in this case, let the feet control the movement. Dum. So the timing comes from the footwork. Dum. Because if the timing is out on the feet, it doesn't matter what the hands are doing because everything will just get pulled out. So give the movement, in this case to the feet, step, bang, 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 bang. And back, bam, 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 bam. Oi, don't go on the ankle. Ouch. There we go. Back. There we go. That's it. That's it. There we go. Nice. Good. Great. Okay, so we'll just look at the Go-no-Ase form. So do the attack side and then the defense side. So we're working in together. The main thing now is you're going to weave the line. So on the attack, you just do 2. You come off the line here, and then the line's still here. Come off the line again. Full complete cuts here, and then just refine the line with the feet, and then you follow the line back. So you come down, yokomen, go back, yokomen. Just right down the line, and then coming back into kamae. There's 1 cut, weave in the line, defense, back, and down the line. So again, just prioritizing the hip work again. So 2 cuts forward, 2 cuts back. That's there we go, nice.
Michael, is the form of 𝒂𝒂𝒏 described in any of the Psycho books?
Not that I know. I think it was developed after the books were made, but it was practiced that it was formalized after the books were printed. I think, as far as I know, I don't think it's in any of the books. No, I can't think of it being in it.
I'm just in a running debate with a buddy who goes, no, going back, it's showmen. I'm going, no, but it's very close.
It's really easy. You just train with them and show them. It's just physics, really. I know so many people that have this opinion, and it's not provable. It doesn't work, so. It's just non-functional, so. It's one of those things, but. I know Saito-sen, for sure, he emphasizes the hips coming into Yokomen in terms of the kumitachi work. So, these are really preparation work for kumitachi. And if you think about, none of the kumitachi use shomanuchi as a movement. None of them. So none of the kumitachi use that as a movement to finish, because it doesn't work. Because it's not a movement to cut through someone. So all of the kumitachi are going to finish in that wedged position. So it would be a bad exercise if it prepared you to do shomanuchi for something that you don't do later on. So in that case, it would be a terrible exercise. If Gono-ase was shomanuchi, it would be terrible as an exercise because it doesn't prepare you for anything. So that's also a way you can argue with these people. But
yeah, what I think is actually that they just see the videos and they don't know the difference between showman and yokomen.
Yeah.
Our style, because it's not that obvious.
There's a problem also with this idea of the center line, because people are dogmatic about the center. The cut always needs to be directly on the center line. Now, if I'm doing something like that, you would call it shomanuchi, because it's basically locked to the center. But it's just not the case, because if you think about the center as a region, the sword cut's always using the center, but it doesn't have to be jammed into the center line of the body exactly, because it's just not how it's not how you do anything. So if you imagine all your techniques you had to be glued to the center line, you would do everything from here. Try and do everything from, it doesn't work. So the center is really a ball rather than a point. The center is a point, but the use of the center is as a thing that I can use, not as a kind of thing that I need to glue the body to, in this case. If that makes any sense. Sure. Okay, good. We're going to Sichi. So you start now in the left side. Actually, yeah, start left side. Just depends on the space. You can do two or three, but you've got one cut here. Now here you get stopped at this point. So what happens now is the receiver presses the sword down. So I end up here. And then what I do is go off the line underneath and find the thrust. And then if you refine the line again, what you do now is you go back and block onto the shoulder. Press the sword down and then roll back, and you finish on the center line here. You go back, so you do one attack, you receive the press down, roll through, and just starts in kind of three movements. 1, 2, 3. Right on the center. There we go. Sorry, Nina. That's it. Yeah, good. Now the receiving tap. So this is also why the reason we do this in two steps. So you need this kind of feeling. Now, if you think about it, what the person wants to do with this push down is this. So they want to pull the whole body out of the structure. So that's their intention. So when you do this press, it's to press the whole structure it's to press the whole body out of structure. So this is going to happen. So just imagine that's quite a strong movement. What I need to do is divert it down through the center. So I've got to feel what that motion is by receiving it, puts me in the ground to be able to spring out for the next attack. So really feel that that receiving is really important. So you come in here, this, let it all sink down into the ground. So there's a kind of springing, there's a loading the spring here. And then as you go through, hips engage through it that way. And just notice that. And as you do it back, also give the movement something from the hip, that. So it's connecting that, dropping through the hip. And then from here, rolling back the hip this way. So again, it's just emphasizing the priority in the hip work. And in that case, the receiving side really needs to receive it down into the ground. That's it. That's it. Good. Great. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, just feel where the weight press is also, it's true on both sides. Just notice what I don't want to do in this case is, so I've got this position and then someone presses me down and I end up in that position. So I end up basically in this part of the body. So I'm in something like this. Now to go into the ski, all I can do is fall into it this way. But there's no weight in terms of the movement. It's just the body falling forward. So when you receive that, feel that you're actually being drawn into the heel. So the body gets drawn down into the heel. And then that weight, the weight in the heel allows me to enter the foot in. And it's the same on the other side. So when you press into it, I don't want to be here in the front of the body, in the front of the leg, but I want to be much more based in the back of the body. So the heels really let the weight be received through the heel. And then that gives me the ability to roll back with the next movement. Otherwise, again, I'm trapped in the front and then I kind of fall through the back movement this way. So just get a sense of something pressing through the heels all the time. So I'm trying to convert the movement from the arms, from the sword to the hip, and then into the heel, into the ground. And then it shoots back up into the next movement. Yeah. This is a nice movement because you go from being the attacker to receiving and then attacking. So it's got a nice shift in it. That's it. Good. Nice. That's so great. Okay, we'll just go into the first 𝒂𝒂𝒕. So really basic, take it step by step. So you open up, shift the body back, yeah, and then you roll over. In this case, you find a block, so the hips are coming here, and then you just go back, yeah, and then engage in the cut. So you've got these three really distinct movements. There's the opening, striking down, rolling back, block, and then from here, sinking back, wedging the body in for the finish. So you've got to drop down, a block, and then a finish. Just take it nice and slow. Really noticing the changes in the hip work. Okay, the first move, you've got to be quite generous with the offering, because if I do the offering a little bit like this, that nobody's going to take it, because I'm basically covered still. So that first movement really feel you open and then cut it down. So it's got really a sense that I'm really inviting in. So it's totally open. So I want them really to go for this. You're in a kind of stalemate. So I give them an opening, this. So it's really clear. And then at the same time, my intention is to shoot back and cut the sword down. So I'm trying to bait them, but I need to do it by giving them something really clear. And that what this also does is really reinforces this idea of dropping down, because I go from the top and then really sink the weight down. And then from here, roll back, cutting through. So just make the movements a little bit bigger, a little bit more exaggerated. Just allow the form to open up a little bit. That's it. That's it. So you offer, drop back. And it's got this nice move again, because you've got opening, offering out, and then wham, slamming down on the sword. So I'm trying to finish the movement right then, but it continues. But that's it. So. Nice. Just see if you can get the core of the movements are actually is something changing in the hips. So again, all the weight in that movement, all of it's going to come from the hips slamming down to the ground. Now the weight of the block comes from the hips rolling and opening out. So the weight's not going to come from the sword out. It's going to come from the hip and then the weight of the final cut is going to come the weight from the body. So just get this feeling of see, it's tricky in terms of this kumitachi because everything's happening backwards. So I've got to match the feeling, but just feel that everything's going to come from the hip. The other thing you can do to emphasize is kind of hold your space, so you don't have to go back so much. And because you've not got a partner, you don't need to at all, but you can really contain it down. You've got this feeling of really wedging through from the center. So it's all the stuff we do in the saburi. You're just adapting it now and making it a bit more practical. Yeah. That's it. That's it. We've got a bit of a bad habit. I noticed in this style also. There's a habit of doing two things when it's really one. So also, this is the case here as well, like 1, 2. This one not so much, and then the last one 2, 1, 2. It's too static. It's really too static because we do that because I think there's a leftover from this practice of like step by step, dong, and then I move, and then dong, and then you move, dong. But try and get this feeling. These movements are really one thing. So this is 1. This is 1, and then this is 1. And it's not about speed, it's about my intention, but I don't wait at the top and then cut down. So I'm not waiting for the attacker. So I'm not waiting for them to attack me, I'm actually coming in to cut them. What I'm actually doing is cutting the person down, but I'm not waiting for them to attack me so that I can cut through their sword. So it's not a practice it's not a practice of cutting through the sword, it's a practice of cutting to the center. And whether the person attacks me or not, I'm going to cut through to the center. So obviously in the form we play the roles, but my intention needs to be very clear that I'm cutting right to the center. And in the practice, we do it at safety and we hit the sword rather than the person. But my intention is really to cut through the person. That makes sense. Yeah, probably shouldn't be on recording, but there was one thing in Japan that I really hated, and it was this idea of waiting. So I'm stuck in the posture here, and I need to wait for the person to come to attack me, and then I need to blend with it. So the person comes to attack, and then I blend with it. So every time I actually work in lane, because the person's already attacked, and then I move. So the point of the Oase stuff is that you work together. Dum, dum, dum. So there's no feeling at all that I'm waiting for the person. And then the later levels, you're not waiting for the person. You're putting yourself in a position where the person has to attack, and you're trapping them in it, and then you're cutting through it. So the timing at first needs to be really together. So there's no feeling at all of like I wait for the attack, and then I'm offering it, and I'm trying to cut down on the sword. The person's coming in, and I need to move. The person's coming in, and I strike through. So just play a few just with a bit more intention, and it's really the feeling that. There. And if you like, just start to make it a little bit more fluid, a little bit more flowing. But there's no feeling of the body waiting. Just move. 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 Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Nice. Good. Okay, there's a tendency when you go faster to add weight into the arms, so something like this. Something like that, and then the arms start throwing the back. The ability to ground will be less. So just feel again, keep it heavy, but keep it really within the center of the body. So the feeling's like that. So that motion of like unlocking the movement a little bit is going to come just from freeing the body work up. And the weight of it's just going to come from the movement itself, but try not to add in with the arms. So just start splitting the body. It will actually work against you rather than with you. So just get the feeling the last few nice and clear body. And if you can, just start to work it really fluid now. So you can do really slow, heavy. There's some great videos with Saito Sensei goes full speed with Namoto Sensei attacking him, and he just does it like really casually. So there's no like added tension or added power or anything. He just moves, and just his movement is the power. So that's this kind of tension-free body moving and applying the hip work and all this kind of stuff. But really impressive to see. And especially when you got someone very aggressive attacking you. Really tricky to kind of maintain, but that's it. And you'll notice that the key to it comes down to the feet again. So the footwork's the king in terms of this work. Footwork's really essential. Yeah. Great. Nice. In the last 30 seconds, just feel now that once you've got that kind of a little bit fluid, use the impact of the movements to bounce to the next one. So you've got now that. So there's now like a kind of bounce in it. So it's basically your body's hitting the ground, and that opens up to the next movement. If I'm hitting with the arms, this won't happen. So if I'm doing that, this will split the body again. But just try and get the feeling that when you're impacting the ground. So you've got this kind of bounce. It's less in the block because the blocks are kind of hold off rather than a strikeout. But I've got to feel that the setups here. Works much more in the parts practice because the partner's giving me the impact and I take it to the ground. Boom. Go. But just feel again, it's the relationship to the ground is much more important. But just get the last 30 seconds or so. Just feeling of boom, go, go. And you can do it really, really subtly. It's not a big major thing. It's just catching the there. 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 That's it. That's it. Very good. Okay, we'll bow out. That's it. That's the first 𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒔, nice and easy. I don't know how we're going to cover the 5 in the workshop, but I'll try. But we'll maybe play with them a little bit. But number 1's really the blueprint, so all of them kind of follow from that. So okay, let's. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Great, good, very nice.